So Rivian just started rolling R2 validation vehicles off the production line. And this is supposed to be their big growth moment, just like the Tesla Model Y and the Tesla Model 3 for Tesla. But in a way, the way they're doing it can actually have a negative impact on sales and slow sales down and really force discounts on the R1. And this isn't about Tesla or FSD hype. This is about product strategy, timing, and buyer behavior. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's go ahead and get into this. So let's talk specifically about Rivian's strategy with the R2 and why it's launching two different hardware generation vehicles basically in the same year, and how they can limit production this year. And also why I believe it's going to create an Osborne effect that pushes Rivian towards putting the R1S on sale. Maybe the R1T to a lesser degree, but mostly the R1S. The R2 have more crossover appeal. The R2 is basically just a shrunken version of the R1S. Rivian isn't really launching one R2 this year. They're actually launching two. So let me explain. The first version of the R2 is going to be considered the R2 Generation 2. And those will be the first ones that come out. And that should be around the spring from what I'm hearing. And also those vehicles will not have any LiDAR, and they won't have the dual 800 TOPS autonomy chips either. And what I also hear is that they won't be backwards compatible. And so you cannot later add LiDAR onto those vehicles because they won't come with the compute power of the Generation 3. It would also be built on the current Generation 2 compute, which is the same compute that's in the current Generation 2 R1T or R1S. And then later this year, or either early 2027, they're going to be launching the Generation 3 R2. And that will come with LiDAR. It'll also come with a dual 800 TOP autonomy chips, and TOP stands for a trillion operations per second. And it's also designed for Rivian's long-term platform. Once customers find out there's a more capable version of the same vehicle coming out later this year, that's definitely going to impact their buyers' behavior. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the Osborne effect. So what is the Osborne effect? The Osborne effect is a business phenomenon where a company prematurely announces a future product, causing customers to cancel or delay orders for current products, leading to severe, sometimes fatal decline in sales. And it's named after the Osborne Computer Company, which went bankrupt in 1983 after announcing new computers too early. And this serves as a warning against premature marketing for future technology. Kind of something that Rivian is doing here. And this is a classic example of the Osborne effect. And it's not because Rivian is failing, it's because they're transitioning platforms. And this is because early buyers hesitate, informed buyers wait, demand gets split across two versions, and near-term sales soften. And that's basically probably what's going to happen. So Rivian just didn't announce a new car. They announced a better version of the same car that's coming out later this year. And that's the entire problem there. Because of the split, I believe R2 production will be intentionally limited this year. You may ask why. I say, why would they intentionally limit their production of the R2? This is their big moment. Well, let me explain some more reasons why. First of all, Rivian doesn't want any excess Gen 2 inventory. So you're producing these first vehicles, these Gen 2s, and not a lot of people are probably going to want them, especially if you know a better version is coming later this year. And also, they don't want early buyers feeling burned. I'm sure Rivian has a lot of experience with this right now, especially between the buyers of the Generation 1 R1 vehicles and Generation 2. And now you're starting to see the split as far as the autonomy capabilities of the Generation 1 versus the Generation 2 and a lot of the different things that are added to the vehicle. And a lot of those Generation 1 buyers actually feel burned. And so I'm pretty sure Rivian wants to limit this or really avoid this. And also they need time to ramp up the Gen 3 hardware because I'm sure they're still testing this. They have big plans as far as things like point-to-point, hands-off driving. And if I'm Rivian, I want to make sure I have that ready to go when I launch this vehicle with the LiDAR on it, because now you get this next big promotional push. And I think a lot of tech-savvy people will really be interested and really excited about moving to that vehicle to have those capabilities. And Rivian is also managing expectations and not chasing volume. This is Rivian being cautious during a major platform transition. Now, here's where it really matters. If R2 production is limited and buyers are waiting for the Generation 3 R2, Rivian still has to sell vehicles this year. And those vehicles are the R1S and the R1T. And I believe Rivian is going to have to lean into R1 sales more than expected. And that usually means incentives, not panic discounts, not fire sales, but better lease terms, inventory pricing, end of quarter pressure, and also acquire the discounts to move volume. So what I'm trying to tell you here is that the R2 hype may actually create the best buying environment we've seen yet for the R1. So this may be the best time to get an awesome deal on a Rivian R1S. So you may be asking, why would buyers wait for the Generation 3 R2 instead of just getting a Generation 2 R2? This is about buyer psychology, not hype. A lot of buyers don't want the first version of a platform when they know a better version is coming. In this case, you're looking at probably 6 months later. So that's a really short time span to wait. Reasons that people wait is long-term ownership mindset, resale value concerns, not wanting capped hardware, and also future-proofing their vehicles. Even if they don't care about autonomy, they still care about buying the right version of the vehicle. So what does this mean strategically for Rivian? Rivian is doing something smart but risky. Smart because they're aligning R2 with their long-term platform. They're not rushing Gen 3 hardware. They're protecting the brand. Short-term sell pressure is definitely going to be there. Split demand between Gen 2 R2 and Gen 3 R2. And also delayed revenue is going to have an impact on the company. Also, if you factor in additional things like there are no more carbon credits, it's going to put a lot of pressure on Rivian this year. And so I really expect stock prices to dip down. So not only will you probably get a good buying opportunity for R1S or R1T, more so the R1S, but also really good discounts on stocks because I really expect investors see this dip, they're going to panic, and the price is going to come down. It's going to be a good opportunity to purchase, in my opinion. And I'm not offering stock advice here. I'm just saying this is just some of the things I definitely can see happening. This is simply the cost of evolving from a software-defined vehicle to an artificial intelligence-defined vehicle. So here's a real question. If you're a buyer, do you wait for the Gen 3 R2 to come out? Or do you take advantage of what may possibly be the best deals we've seen on the R1s yet? Just say, for example, you can get an awesome lease deal on the R1S. Would you pick that over the Gen 3 R2? Or would you rather buy a discounted R1 today? If you do choose to take advantage of some of the best R1 deals we've seen yet, make sure you use my referral code right here. And this will give you 500 points in the Rivian shop. You can use to purchase some gear and also give you a couple of months of free charging. But let me know your thoughts in the comments section. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. But that's all I have for today. I'd like to thank you for joining me once again. And I can't wait to see you on the next video.